Yeah, well, I expect that much from.
I guess.
I got it, yeah. Very fun.
All right, good evening. Welcome to the April 18, 2024 Southeast Polk School Board meeting. Karen, can I get roll call?
Brett,
Here.
Chad,
Here.
Rick,
Here.
Kelly,
Here.
Lori,
Here.
Whitney,
Here.
Bridget,
All right, looks like we have a quorum, so. A quorum. I'm not left that. Anyway, 1B, agenda adoption.
Motion to adopt the agenda.
Second.
Karen?
Chad,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Whitney,
Yes.
Brett,
1C, district vision and mission. Anybody?
I'll do it.
Laura?
Southeast Polk will learn, lead, live, success for college, career, and civic life. Engage all students in learning a challenging curriculum delivered through quality instruction.
Thank you. If everybody would please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right now is the time for public comments. If there's anybody in the audience that would wish to address the board or anything, please step up. If you just want to state your name, your address, what you're here for, and
Yeah.
you have 3 minutes, unless you're a group, then you have 5.
I'll be efficient. I'm Heather Severs, 1409 8th Avenue Southeast in Altoona. And I just wanted to introduce myself. I'm running for Iowa House for District 40. And I've also been fighting really hard for our public schools through Advocates for Iowa's Children. And I just wanted to bring forward just my concerns around the legislation that just passed to allow guns in our schools. So I know that our police don't support that. That feels like it's really unsafe. And they actually wrote in liability into this liability protection. So if there is an accident, say that a child is accidentally killed, nobody can really be held accountable. There's criminal and civil liabilities written in to protect people from, being held accountable if there is an issue. So I'm just hoping that for Southeast Polk that we can, kind of work together to not move that policy into our schools. So that's all I needed to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Mike, you look like you're going to jump up there. Did you want to speak? All right, no go. Anybody else before I close it? All right, seeing none. 1F consent agenda.
Motion to approve.
Second,
Thank you. Any questions, concerns?
comment, for those leaving the district, I just want to say thank you for the years of service you've given to our students and to the community and to the school district. Thank you.
Anybody else? All right, Karen. Oh,
Rick,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Whitney,
Yes.
Brett,
yes.
Chad,
Yes.
All right, moving on to old and new business, confirmation of next meeting.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Question, Karen?
Kelly,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Whitney,
Yes.
Brett,
Yes.
Chad,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
Uh, 2B classified staff 24-25 part 2. This was
Motion.
presented last time.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any questions for staff? Hearing none. Karen?
Lori,
Yes.
Whitney,
Yes.
Brett,
Yes.
Chad,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Thank you. 2C, this is certified staffing plan phase 4.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Any questions? Seeing none. Karen?
Whitney,
Yes.
Brett,
Yes.
Chad,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
2D, this is the set the public hearing for the fiscal year 24. He's got to go. Oh, you good? Okay. Anyway, set public hearing for the fiscal year 24 budget amendment, which would amend the current year's budget by May, or we have to do it by May 31st.
Motion to set the public hearing.
Just 1 second.
Okay.
Before we move to the May 2nd date, we're gonna move that to the May 16th date. It's still compliance with what we have. There's some late changes with legislation and I want to make sure we want to incorporate all those things into that budget amendment.
All right.
Motion to set the public hearing for May 16th, 2024 for amendment to the current fiscal year 2024 budget.
Second.
Any other questions, concerns on that date? All right, hearing none. Karen?
Brett,
Yes.
Chad,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Whitney,
Yes.
2E, this is to set the 2024-25 student fees.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Questions on those? Pretty set for. All right, Karen?
Chad,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Whitney,
Yes.
Brett,
Yes. All right, now I'm gonna open the public hearing for the fiscal year 2025 published budget effectively sets the district composite tax rate no higher than 15,000 or 15 million. Is that right? 15 million?
Per thousand,
Swore that looked like a comma. I was
the
like.
tax
holy
rate, the
cow.
tax rate.
Tax rate. I'm sorry for anybody that's listening out there.
With a room
If you'd seen my glasses, you'd understand. Anyway, set the no higher than $15.44, which puts it stable, right?
No change.
No change. Okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and open the public hearing at 5:38. Are there any comments? Anybody like to speak on this? Board Secretary, have we received any written? No written? Going once, going twice, see nobody willing to. We'll go ahead and close the hearing at 5:38. Two G, adopt and certify fiscal year 2025 budget.
Motion to adopt and approve the fiscal year 2025 budget as proposed and set the district's composite tax rate no higher than 15.44257.
Sure, that's not 15 million or anything.
Second.
I need new glasses. All right, so $15.44 is it. All right, Karen?
Rick,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Whitney,
Yes.
Brett,
Yes.
Chad,
Yes.
All right, letter H, collective bargaining agreement with CPA. It should be in your package.
Yours. And this is
This was fresh last night. Yeah,
Action.
Mr. Wharton.
action.
Yes.
Okay, motion to approve the collective bargaining agreement.
Second.
Okay, any questions for Mr. Horton since he's up?
Just a little bit of background. This is year 3 of a 5-year deal. Each year we come back together, talk about one language item per side and money. And negotiations took a whopping 2 meetings. And it was a good overall experience, good product as evidenced by the CPO vote last night, which was unanimous. They liked the deal, we liked it, everybody liked the deal. It's like collective bargaining the way maybe it should be. So it worked out great.
Could you explain the additional funding, the language that's indexed across salary schedule?
Yeah. The governor had, I believe it's House File 2612. And in that particular piece of legislation, there was an effort to raise beginning teacher salary to $50,000 across the state. Plus, at year 12, there were adjustments made as well. I think it was year 12. I thought it was going to be 15 for some reason, but anyhow, so those adjustments got made. Well, we meet both standards already. And, you know, it being the 12th or 13th largest district in Iowa, I'm sure the other schools that are larger than we are have probably met that as well. So some funding came out of that, and it goes, it becomes a part of teacher salary supplement, TSS money. And then that is, I wouldn't say equally distributed across the salary schedule for all employees, because each employee is assigned a multiplier based on their education, years of experience, things like that. And so whatever multiplier corresponds with the particular employee, that'll determine how much of that money then is spread to them individually. But everybody will get maybe the appropriate piece of that pie. After all the shouting's done when it comes to that particular law or piece of legislation, but there could be other follow-up actions we're kind of told that may affect that money for the better if you're a school teacher in Iowa.
Okay.
And that'll be evenly distributed according to the multiplier.
Okay. So we've agreed that we don't know what it is, but
Yeah.
this is how
But
we
when it gets
handle
there, it'll come out to everybody as is appropriate.
Thank you.
Sure.
I just want to make a comment that I appreciate the working agreement between the negotiating teams on both sides, CPIA and the administration. So thank you for having a good working relationship.
You bet. You're
And
certainly
continuing.
welcome. It's hard to pull the wool over each other's eyes because the lead negotiator for CPIA and I we went to the same elementary school, middle school, and high school. So we can't
You know each other well.
right, just all too well. But it
Okay.
works out well in the end, for sure.
Good.
All right, anything else? All right, thank
Thanks.
you. Karen?
Kelly,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Whitney,
Yes.
Brett,
Yes.
Chad,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes. All right, item 3, topics for discussion, superintendent's report.
Good evening. Thank you. Some good news and highlights from the last month. We have a national merit finalist, high school student Aiden Douglas is in that final list. About 15,000 students out of 1.3 million that started the process. It's an awesome accomplishment. Had the Meta Grants ceremony this afternoon. We had numerous groups that received grants from Meta. We're just thankful for that great support for education. You'll be hearing more about that over the next few days. Since our last meeting, we've had the Bill Birch Scholarship and Recognition Breakfast, always a great morning. Congratulations to all the students who were recognized for their academic achievements, and a big congratulations to Spencer Olson on the Bill Birch Humanitarian Award. That's again picked by the high school faculty for academic, character trait, and community commitment. I'm glad to see junior high principals in the audience here because I want to highlight the fact that their students did a 2-week campaign, including a coin war, a dance, and dodgeball tournament to raise nearly $5,000 for Make-A-Wish. I think that's just fantastic.
Good job.
Last week was the week of the young child. I thought our preschool group did a nice job of having something every day for our youngest learners and just celebrating our young learners. Also last weekend was our spring play. And since our last meeting, we have had 2 board building visits. We were able to attend that assembly at Mitchellville, spent some time in the STEM room and out in classrooms at 4 Mile. Next up is our final visit of the year at Centennial, which will be next week.
For Dr. Lubnick.
Yeah, a day. on
What's the
that,
time?
next
Oh,
week.
9 AM,
25th, was it?
25th at 9 AM.
Yep.
Thank you very much. Moving right along, capital projects, Gary Haynes. Welcome back.
Thank you. Good evening, members of the board. One of the main projects that I've been working on is the maintenance and grounds building that is underway and almost to completion. We are moved in, so we have substantial completion. Some of the delay that we have is reconfiguring the sprinkler system from the requirements from the Pleasant Hill inspector, which is minimal, and that should be completed hopefully next week. The enclosure of our electrical panels wasn't in the original drawing. The inspector required that, so that's studded in. They should be starting on that tomorrow or the first of the week. All the groundwork is laid in place. As soon as it dries out, we'll be doing overseeding, and it's turned out really well. They've done a fantastic job on that. Fencing is completed, and they're underway with the electrical operation, and so card readers for the gates to operate in, and that'll be coming real soon as well. Summer capital projects are approved and in place. Some of those include the resurfacing and repairs at Centennial Elementary and some repairs throughout the district that we do normally on resurfacing, and then re-roofing projects are in line to start in as soon as school's out as well. So, major repairs, I know we're working on the pool, and that's coming along well. Everything's been in line. Dr. Lepnick and Kevin McCom have worked well at reviewing everything and approving what should be approved. Postings are good for our summer project people, summer workers, so that's coming along. Postings for the 6th, 7th grade building for our custodial staff will be in line for that too. It's an exceptional building. They've done a fantastic job on that, so I think there's a lot of excitement for that move in. Are there any questions on any projects coming up that I haven't thought of right now? I know I've been gone for a long time, so I'm regrouping. So
You've been
thank
growing a mustache, Gary.
you. Yeah, anything else?
Heavy duty mustache. Well, yes, what was my question? Anything that has to go out for bid, or is everything good to go? Nothing that's gonna hold us up.
I don't foresee any holdups. I mean, if there's something that needs to go out for bid, it's probably not a part of our original
Okay.
summer projects.
And have you had any trouble getting applicants to work the summer job, work around the district?
Just got posted. I think right now I have 30 that have applied, so
Okay.
it is the crossing between the new postings that we have for grounds and custodial people and summer people, and are they going to apply? So we'll take those a day at a time as they come.
You're not worried about a shortage?
I'm not
Okay,
really worried this year.
okay, good.
Well, it's good to see everyone again, and thank you for everything. I appreciate your support. So thank you.
It's good to see you, Gary.
Thank you, Gary. All right, 3C, monthly financials.
These are the monthly financials to the month of March. Just a quick summary of this. General fund revenues are up 5%, expenditures up 8%. Look at the open enrollment tuition. We had an increase of 51 students open enrolled to the district, about 13.5% increase. So our corresponding tuition in is up about 14.3%, I think you see in there.
What
So that's
page?
great.
Or just on the columns.
What's that? I'm sorry.
Where am I?
Yeah, the last on page 1 of the financials.
Okay.
The tuition increased there to 2.145 million, 14.3%. As far as other revenues, the Scales Trade Building is continuing to receive money. We are waiting on the legacy grant still to complete some of those building projects. Hopefully, we have some good information that we are close to being a recipient, hopefully, of those funds. As far as expenditures, up 8%, a lot of building, plumbing, electrical repairs, and then we started spending some money on the safety grant funds. This was the $50,000 per building received through the governor from federal dollars to improve our safety within those buildings. So a total of $550,000. Mr. Horton and Mr. Kurth have worked together with this plan, along with, I think, a committee to put this forth, and we are now starting to spend that money, and we'll soon be installing a lot of equipment. As far as all funds, revenues were up 15.1%. Bond money, obviously being the biggest piece of that. I am working with public financial management currently to see what needs to be done to finish out the projects that we have now, which I think we can do with cash, but also looking into the future as we talk about a new elementary building and also some of our other major structure projects that may happen in the future. Interest earnings, great to see there. Again, compared to last year, we're up $1.1 million in interest earnings themselves. So that's a big chunk of money. It's statewide penny. There needs to be some sort of correction to that statewide penny. I know we received money as a last payment back in 23 as a reconciliation payment from 22. But I'm getting some varying different pieces of the statewide penny dollars. One source, it seems to be saying it's down this year, but other sources seems to be up. All indications from my side looks like it's going up. Statewide sales tax dollars, but I need to confirm that with the state. Expenditures up in all funds at 1.9%. We are nearing the end, getting close to the middle school. The roadway projects are moving along. If you haven't done down 8th Street heading east, you're probably throwing your fists up in the air on some of those road movements. They are we're driving now on the north side of the roundabout, and they're working on the south side of that roundabout as we speak. As Mr. Haynes mentioned, the maintenance building is pretty close to having full occupancy, just those few other items to be complete. And if you haven't heard this one, please stop me. We are still working on multi-purpose stadium and softball punch lists and fixings before we pass out the retainage money to them.
Anything else from Mr. McCollum?
No, other than I didn't get a chance to look at this in advance, so at least earlier in the day, if not, I'm gonna keep asking for that in advance.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you much.
Thank you.
All right, last but not least, special education plans for fiscal 25.
Good evening. When I learned I was speaking tonight, I was a little torn because our youngest daughter has her first junior high track meet tonight in Marshalltown.
Who scheduled this for you?
Well, but then they just texted and they're freezing, so.
It might have been a good night to miss.
Yeah. It's a pleasure for me to be here tonight and to address the topic of special education because the topic is very significant to me, both personally and professionally. My passion stems from growing up with a sister with special needs, and she attended a special school that was not in her home school, that was not in her home district. And she lived in a group home at the age of 11. With this opportunity to speak, I would be remiss not to acknowledge the dedication of my parents and family. Just this past weekend, we organized the 17th annual Gwen's Carnival, which we put on in honor of her. And it's an inclusive event that caters to all diverse ages and abilities. So all of the games and activities we put together are accessible to everyone. So it was a great time. I could share countless stories about my sister, but knowing all of you, we all have experiences with people that have special needs. And all of my passion is around working with all of you to continue our work to advocate for all of our students and our kids in the school and in the community. So tonight I'm going to talk about 4 things. I'm going to talk about the core beliefs in our special education department, the continuum of services that we offer all of our students, the programming in each of our buildings, and looking ahead to the 24-25 school year. So we have 4 core beliefs that we follow in our day-to-day work at Southeast Polk. The first one centers around communication and collaboration, which is probably the easiest one for all of us as teachers. We believe it's important to gauge an effective communication with our teachers, with our colleagues, and especially with our parents to understand each student's needs as we develop their goals and their action plans. We believe it's also important to work collaboratively together so we can understand what students need and what strategies they need to be successful. We truly believe that together that we can have great ideas and that none of us can do this work alone. Our next core belief involves providing instruction that's connected to our grade level standards. We talk about that a lot. We talk about our grade level standards. We talk about teaching the core, and we have to make sure that our students' learning aligns to our grade level expectations, and we have to bridge any of those gaps in instruction to make sure that they don't fall further behind in their learning. Our third belief is to focus on the results, not on compliance. As special education teachers, we consistently gather data and we regularly monitor students' progress. And in doing all of this, we have to use that information to inform our decisions about instruction and about what is best for kids. We always want to look at that data when we make our decisions. Our final core belief is all means all. And while this seemingly is straightforward, it's the most complex of our beliefs. All means all reminds us to avoid the pitfalls of overlooking any student in our district and in our programs and putting an emphasis on the inclusion of all of our students. And we truly believe that all of our students can learn. The second topic I'm going to talk about is our continuum of services. So I do have a handout. So take one of each. We have a continuum of services for both our learning and a continuum of services for our behavior. So you should have 2 handouts: continuum of services for learning, which is 2-sided, one for elementary and one for secondary, and then a continuum of services for our behavior. So we use this, the continuum of services in the least restrictive environment. We use that in a lot of the conversations we have with students. But this handout outlines a range of services that are available to our students with IEPs to ensure that they are served in an environment that offers the least restrictions. The optimal environment for all of our students is 100% in the general education classroom, which is shown on the left side of that handout. Then the continuum of services progresses to the right. It goes to 90% in general ed and 10% in special ed, with varying options until we get to the far right of the continuum of services, which is 100% in a self-contained environment. So this continuum really serves as a reminder for us to always consider where our students are at in their educational programming and to consider where they should go next. And we always want to go gradually to the right or to the left on that continuum. Unless there's some significant event that happens, we would never want to jump from one end to the other. We always want that gradual movement. Next, I'm going to talk about the programs that we have at Southeast Polk. At our elementary schools, we offer level 1 and level 2 special education programs in all of our 8 elementary buildings. In 4 of our buildings, we offer a district-wide intellectual disabilities program, which we call the ID program. We have 2 programs at Altoona and Centennial. Delaware hosts 3 of those programs, and Reynolds has 1 of those programs. And then additionally, 4 of our elementary schools have programs that service students with significant behaviors, which we call the BD programs. And those are at Altoona, Clay, Delaware, and 4 Mile. And then moving on to our secondary schools, we provide all of those services in all 3 of our buildings, and we'll continue to do that next year. But then in talking about next year, we're talking about making some changes moving forward. And we plan to enhance our services specifically at the secondary level, focusing on individual students in the needs of behavior. So currently our behavior program teachers have 12 to 15 plus students with diverse needs on their rosters. And we aim to restructure those programs as follows. And this kind of ties along to the continuum of services that you have, the handout. We're going to have 3 different teachers. The one teacher will teach 12 to 15 students who would fall on the left side of that continuum, who are 90 to 100% in the least restrictive environment. So that means they're out in classrooms most of the day, and they're receiving instruction from classroom teachers or in co-taught classes. Then we'd have another teacher who would have a smaller roster of 10 to 12 students, and that would be in the middle of that continuum. And they would be pulled out for specific classes based on their needs, with always the goal of going to the left of that continuum and being in the general education classroom. And then lastly, we would have one teacher with a much smaller roster catering to the self-contained environment. So that's on the far right of that continuum. And that objective there is to gain instructional control, following a reintegration plan for students, and to work towards integrating back into some general education classrooms. In that program specifically, we will focus on looking or having a process for reviewing data, individualing our instruction for students, having dedicated workspaces for our students, and focusing our professional development specifically on classroom management and behavior strategies for our teachers and our associates. So we really want to beef up our professional development in that area. Some students will benefit in that self-contained classroom because in my mind, we think of it like that we want to shrink their world, that we need to emphasize the importance of learning, and we need to exclude any outside factors. So that self-contained environment will work when we get going and we do it correctly. And because our hope is always to get them back into the general education setting. And then our goal at the elementary level is to continually look into housing all of our district-wide programs in each of our buildings. So we no longer have district-wide programs. We would be able to serve all of our students in their neighborhood schools. You know, our ultimate goal in our department is to have the programs that we need in our buildings to service our students. So in closing, I just want you to know that I want us to continually work together to advocate for all of our students in both the school and the community. Questions?
Well, I think, and I might have misunderstood, but you said the secondary level 3 teachers, 1 for the least restrictive, 1 for the in the middle with the go to get them to the left part of the, and then the 3rd with the self-contained most restrictive. So are those 3 teachers, are those in the high school? Are they in the junior high? Are they in the middle school? Or
We want them at each of the levels.
Okay, so you'll have 3 in each building.
If not more.
Okay, and then that's why I was like, wait, because I think we're gonna be short.
Yeah, we would like to have more based on our numbers, and we're just not there yet with bringing more teachers into the buildings.
And what about our services, the expectation of services being cut from the AEA? How are we gonna cover that? Has that discussion occurred yet?
It's starting to occur. We're super nervous about what that will look like. You know, Dr. Lupnick knows probably a lot more than I know. I know a lot of districts that I've worked with are talking about it. We're starting to develop some plans of what that could or will look like. I'm not ready to talk about any of those plans yet, but that will be a struggle for us. Right now, we have students that attend some programs outside of our district that are paid out of AEA funds. And if that is not available to our students, that will look very different in our district.
Yeah, and my concern is that we have enough of our own staff to
Correct.
handle
Correct.
so that we're raising these students up
Mhm.
and not letting
Absolutely.
anything go by the wayside.
Mhm.
They still need the same services and how.
It just has to look different.
Yeah, you know
Yeah.
what I'm saying.
Absolutely. And it's very much outside of the traditional way of doing school. It's thinking differently of how we educate them and how we make school work for them. Because they still deserve.
The best, the very best.
So I had a question.
Yeah.
Just first, I want to say, what the special education program at Southeast Polk means to me. It's a very loving place and I have nothing but great respect for the work that you do here. But one concern that I do have, not only with the AE funding, but are we going to have enough associates?
Oh, yeah.
Because that's been a problem in the
Yeah,
past.
yeah,
What is
yeah.
that going to look like? What's the plan to address that?
Yeah, we talk about that and I always want to steer the conversation to let's make the best work of our associates. So the people that we have now, let's increase their ability to do the work that they can do in the buildings so that we don't have to keep adding associates, but we find ways to meet all of our students' needs. So I think about how can we provide professional development to our associates and how can we make their toolbox larger.
Yeah, no, and I get that, but as you're well aware, the prevalence of a lot of autism especially is increasing. So we're going to have more students that are going to need these services. And so I was just wondering, that we're going to have to consider that in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. And we always fear that we won't have enough people. And so that if that's not something we can control, can we control what we teach them and what we collaborate with them about and talk about and learn about? So yeah, great question.
I have a couple of questions. Excuse me. At the secondary level, you mentioned the BD students or classes may have as many as 12 to 15 students. Now, besides the behavior goal, do some of those 12 to 15 have multiple goals, like 2 or 3 or even 4 goals? I mean, that's got to be really difficult.
Yeah,
for a teacher to handle.
Yep. And it's a little bit of being unique of how we plan those rosters. Many of our students have multiple goals.
Right.
Probably more so now than they did 20 years ago. We have students now that could quite easily have 3 academic goals and a behavior goal and a speech goal.
Right.
So it depends. The 12 to 15 that are on that behavior roster, we would like for them to only have a behavior goal, maybe one other goal.
Right.
And our other level 1, level 2 teachers would have those multiple goal areas.
'Cause,
Especially the academic.
The more you learn about special ed, the more you learn that if a teacher has a roster of kids that have 4 goals and have 10 or 12 kids like that, I mean, that's a lot of work. And to give that student individual time that they need for attention, that's a big challenge. Then I'm speaking secondary, your level 3, the kids on the far right side, I'm assuming that's smaller than 12 to 15. That's a smaller group, I'm assuming.
Yes, and it's probably 5
Okay.
to 6.
That's good, but I used to teach BD self-contained at the high school level. Now, are they in that classroom all day with the same kids, or do they maybe go to a PE with an associate or go to maybe an elective shop class or something with an associate?
Absolutely, but probably not right in the beginning. In the
Okay.
beginning, we need to get the instructional control.
Right.
And then we would begin to then start reintegrating back into that classroom. And that reintegration plan is the key. And that reintegration plan looks different for every kid.
Right. And you just mentioned a minute ago that you want to get the most out of your associates, which I totally agree. But aren't some of them through an IEP process one-on-one?
Yes,
They're signed to
some
us.
are, and some are shared.
Right.
And, the older they get, they need that independence and shared is a good way to go. Some kids definitely need one-to-ones depending on their needs.
Right. Isn't it pretty typical for the BD kid to maybe have the one-on-one because of their needs?
Yes, it can be, you know, sometimes that one-to-one is hinders their progress as well. So every kid is different.
Right.
And, you know, if we have that self-contained environment, let's say we have 6 kids in there, we don't want 6 associates and the teacher.
Right. Exactly.
You know, so we would minimize the number of associates there and put them in separate work areas so they can do work, they can get that direct instruction. And you know, the behavior goals tie to the academic goals. When they're low academically, then the behaviors come out. So it's trying to find that magic of getting everything to help the kid.
And my last question, I really appreciate you taking over this program the last few years, but overall, general education, like you said at the beginning, you want everything to go to the left. That's our goal, which I appreciate. But when a student goes to the general ed class, are they are the regular ed teachers or the general ed teachers aware of maybe some accommodations those kids need?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that is our goal for our special education teachers, is always to collaborate with that gen ed teacher and knowing what the accommodations are for that student in the classroom.
That was a problem in my former school district, so I just was hoping it was better here.
And honestly, it's tough. It is
Yeah.
tough. It's tough communicating, especially at the secondary level when we have so many teachers.
Right.
But it's something we talk about a lot. We have a secondary leadership team that we talk about. How can we make that easier for everyone?
Right.
And it's hard for gen ed teachers to know and remember.
Right.
You know, so how can we use our infinite campus to help us know what accommodation students need in the classroom?
I just hope collaboration is really high. Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Anything else from Ms. Morris?
Yeah, I appreciate the handout here. It gives me a good visual to understand kind of the breakdown and kind of how you want to move things to the left from the right there. Does the success program fall under this
That
continuum?
would fall way to the right,
Okay,
and that would probably have its own continuum.
okay.
Mhm.
And is that something, because you mentioned like the different buildings, is that something that would be housed at the high school or junior high or wherever the students are in their
Right.
academic?
So right now we
Sure.
have the success program, which is located at the junior high. And that's a program that we talk a lot about, and how can we meet all of our kids' needs in that program, because it's different for so many different kids and it looks different. And we're always working on making that program better. But on the continuum of services, that would be their 100%. They start in the success program 100% in that program. We have students in that program who attend high school classes and who attend junior high classes. So they are starting to reintegrate out. And for some, they get back into the high school setting.
Okay, so do you see that, because you mentioned like wanting to be able to serve the students in their respective buildings? Is that part of your thought process too with the success program, or is that kind of independent of?
That would probably be independent.
Okay,
That would probably still be served in a different location. I don't know that I would ever put that, only because that is much more restrictive and it's a different placement for students. You know, I don't know that would ever be in each building, because right now we have that program, we have 2 teachers in that program, and we're able to serve all of our students 6 through 12 currently.
okay,
Chad, just so you know, the plan is to have that be in the district office building or former Spring Creek by that time.
okay.
So.
Anything else?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I just have one quick thing before we adjourn. Just a reminder, April 24th, the Iowa Association School Board joint board workshop is next Wednesday. 5:15, if you can be there. The topics just came out today. Student academic learning and growth, staff recruitment and retention, and student mental health and behaviors are the three topics that will be discussed at that evening. So if you haven't signed up and you still have time, I think Karen can get you signed up, right, Karen? Sure, right.
Yes. Sorry, I had it muted. Yes.
I knew you were there.
She's still trying to catch up with that $15 million.
Yeah. A lot of calls coming down there. Anyway, there's gonna be breakout session. There'll be 5 breakout sessions for all 3 topics. So just some good things to discuss. So
Do we know how many schools are participating yet?
yes, I have those as well. We have current registration is 40, 33 board members, 7 superintendents consisting from Ankeny, Des Moines, Johnson, Southeast Polk, Urbandale, Waukee, and West Des Moines are the attendees so far. So we have pretty good attendance for the
Good.
metro. So
We should get good input and information and ideas and
we'll be able to report back to have a little bit more discussion for those that didn't attend or couldn't attend.
yeah.
And then, but yeah, bring your thoughts on that. I think you got an email on that as well. So if you get home, you should, if you don't have it on your phone, you should get an email somewhere.
Should
Just kinda
this is
talk
a
about that.
trivial, I'll ask later, never mind, I'm not gonna ask in the
Yeah.
meeting.
So, and just one thing to think about, you don't have to tell me right now, we do have to decide if we want to make that a active board meeting though, so we can get it published. Or do you want it as a team building? Like the IOS, like the normal conference, or the UEN dinner would be something similar to that. So
What-
you don't have to tell me now, but
Does it matter? Does it, is there a difference? Or you just gotta make sure we publish it?
we'd have to publish it if we want it to be a regular meeting. Well, we'd notice it either way is that we would be together. If we do it as a board meeting, we can socialize. And have conversations to an extent. If you don't, then you can't. You're not gonna be able to hang out with me.
Okay, well, let's do it as a board meeting. We have a quorum, right?
Yeah, you'd have to have a quorum and we'd have to have a board meeting, consent agenda, all that stuff. So,
Okay,
Do you know if do we have a quorum?
those attending,
we have 5
okay.
plus Dirk.
Just me.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, I'd recommend doing the meeting just because,
Okay, so we can
Just in case.
converse.
Yeah.
just if accidentally 4 people ended up in one conversation.
Okay,
So
yes,
I'll take that as. that's
I'm
what
a
we're doing.
yes
So-
for that.
So in that case, then make sure you're there at 5:15. The invite says 5:30.
So we can
so we
start
can
our
get it
meeting.
done and Get right into the,
Is this, should we eat beforehand or will we eat
no,
there?
there actually will be a dinner.
Okay.
So 5:15 will be our start for the meeting. And then we'll eat and then go right into
Workshop?
the workshops.
Looking forward to it.
All right. Thanks for everybody coming.
Motion
Thanks
to
for-
adjourn.